are at the Rowan Berry School in Northeast Portland. And with me here is Sarah Leverett from the Oregon Environmental Council, as well as Angela Malloy Murphy, founder and teacher here at the Rowan Berry School.
And thanks so much for coming today, April.
Oh, thanks for having me. And we are here because the Rowan Berry School has been chosen as an eco-healthy school by the Oregon Environmental Council. And I'm very curious what some of the standards are and why they might be important.
So the Eco-Healthy Childcare Program, it focuses on childcares as well as schools like Angela's, and it rewards and endorses facilities that are committed to reducing kids' exposure to toxics. And the program works by facilities looking at a list of 25 best practice points, and if they comply with 20 of those 25 points to reduce kids' exposure to toxics, we endorse and promote them as eco-healthy.
Great. Well, I would love to take a look at the school here and see how the school has met those standards to be an eco-healthy school.
Let's check it out.
All right.
Come right along.
Okay, this is the entryway. This is where we take our shoes off.
Oh. And why do we do that?
The reason for that is it just doesn't bring contaminants into the school environment. I think it's one of the points on the OEC checklist.
Yeah, it is one of the points. It's a great way to keep dust and contaminants out, as well as lead, which is a big issue in Portland. Older homes that have been painted with lead will, as they deteriorate, generate lead dust. And so as you're trekking around outside, you'll bring that in. And lead, of course, is very harmful to developing brains.
So it can actually stick to your shoes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And depending on how much lead paint has been used in that area, or if it's near a traffic zone, you can actually bring in a significant amount.
No kidding. Wow. Well, that's good to know. I think I'll start doing that at home.
All right, let's come on in.
All right.
This started out as just a really unusable basement, and wanting to have a home school. My husband helped me. He was the contractor and the builder, and he helped us build it from the ground up, literally. And because he has the same values as myself, and we have children of our own, he used as many natural and non-toxic materials as he could. So the paint is low or no VOC, depending on the room.
I noticed you don't have any wall-to-wall carpeting either.
Yeah, we try to avoid the carpeting because of all the off-gassing. The rug that we're sitting on is a wool rug.
It's all wool. Wonderful. And why wool over a regular carpet?
The big benefits to wool is that there is no off-gassing. It's naturally flame retardant. It naturally is antimicrobial, so it's a cleaner product naturally instead of having to add a lot of stuff to it. It also won't trap, not having the wall-to-wall carpet, it won't trap a lot of the dirt and dust and things that get drug in from outside. So when the kids are down on the floor playing, they're not going to have a lot of the particles coming into their lungs.
So I'm noticing that these toys, they look like they're all wooden. Is that right? I'm wondering why you might choose wooden over the conventional typical plastic toys that we usually see.
The thing with these toys is they are an investment to begin with. I hear a lot of people say that they don't feel that they can wooden toys for their school or for their home, for their children, but it's an initial investment, but the toys really do last forever. Mm-hmm. If they break, they can be fixed, unlike a lot of times if plastic toys break and it's manufactured, it just goes in the garbage.
That's right.
And not only is it made with wood and painted with natural paint, but it's sealed with beeswax instead of polyurethane, and it takes a little more maintenance with toys like this. I have some natural sealant to go back and periodically continue to seal it so it's not affected by moisture. But you can smell the beeswax on a lot of these natural toys when you're playing with them. And it's really a beautiful smell.
Great.
I think plastics are thought of as something that can be cleaned, that can be washed and disinfected really easily, and that's why they are used so much in childcare environments, because they can just be run through the dishwasher. But we do wash all of our wood toys.
And what do you wash them with?
With a little bit of grapefruit seed extract, and just scrub it and then get it right out of the water and let it air dry.
Nice.
Some things like this they just eventually break down, whereas something like this never will.
Right.
So this is, the most plastic we have in the room is for the tactile tub because this stuff just sits in water. But I'm starting to find more and more steel things, and I see this a lot in child care centers. We've got a ton of plastic for our water play. But I'm finding more and more that there are things we can replace those with.
Oh, nice.
That aren't plastic at all, that will hold up to the water.
What you're looking for with plastics is avoiding number 3, number 7, and number 6. Number 3 is going to be PVCs, and the ones we're concerned about are the softer PVCs. So like a rubber ducky frequently will be number 3, and will have something called phthalates in it, which is not good for kids. You can identify number 3 by the soft vinyl. Number 7, hard, clear plastic. So
it's like in sippy cups, for example.
Sippy cups and baby bottles. Some of them have them, but same price, same function. You can get ones that are milky or opaque colored that don't have, in number 7, it's bisphenol A, which again is increasingly linked to health issues in children. And the hardest part is that it's hard to tell which toys are the safer plastics because manufacturers aren't required to label it, and also depending on where it's from. If the toy's made in China, a lot of times all the ingredients, it doesn't even occur to them to include that in the process. A lot of toys these days aren't made with the 3 or the 7. Some bigger companies are committing to not using bisphenol A or number 3. But yeah, you do have to be aware of it, and it is up to the consumer to really find out. Unfortunately, sometimes that means calling the manufacturer and asking because they aren't labeled, or choosing products that are explicitly labeled.
This is my 16th year as a teacher, and I've had plastic dolls the whole time because children love all over them and they get really germy, and it's really easy to just sponge those down. And they were the soft, squishy kind, just like what you're talking about. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I've gotten these guys. They are wool, and so they actually retain the child's body heat. They
sure
just
are
treat them in a
soft.
really different way than they treat those plastic dolls. And we're able to just sort of sponge bath them and treat them with a lot of care to make sure that they stay clean.
They hardly look used at all. I mean, wow.
They just treat them very gently. Just watching the way children treated those plastic dolls, they ended up outside or thrown down, and they really treat these like treasures because they are obviously handmade by people. They watch the way I treat them as well, and so they get the sense that it's really something to be revered.
So, Angela, you spoke about using non-toxic cleaners to clean the toys and the classrooms. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you have here.
Sure. This is the stuff I wanted to show you because it's pretty easy to get access to these things, to come across them. This is grapefruit seed extract, and you can get it at a health food store. And you can, if you smell it, it's a really strong, concentrated citrus that can be used to disinfect toys or to clean with or to wash dishes with. This is our soap. We just make our own spray soap for the children to use on the table. This is surface spray, and this is what we use to spray the room. It's an all-purpose antibacterial spray that's herbal. And you were talking before about things, Glade-type disinfectants that you plug in the wall or candles that you burn.
No, they both use chemicals that to bind scents that aren't good for especially developing lungs, but also they frequently put out small particles that can get deep into lungs and even pass over into your blood, so it's better not to use them.
And this just smells better. This is cinnamon and eucalyptus and tea tree oil.
And another thing people do is just boil a pot on their stove with water and apples and cinnamon just to make the whole house smell like, something tasty.
And Dr. Bronner's is for everything.
And that's mostly a Castile soap, is that right? Liquid Castile soap, that's natural.
Yes, and we can use this with a little bit of water to dilute it, not much, just for the children to wash their hands with in the bathroom. And these are the products that we use to seal the toys, and this is just pure liquid beeswax. And it's a little different than just melting down your own beeswax to do it, as we discovered. It's just formulated in such a way that it's nice and liquid, that it's going to stay liquid and you can use it to seal any unfinished toy or sand an already finished toy and reseal it with this.
And as you mentioned earlier, there are a number of recipes people can make on their own using baking soda and vinegar, borax, lemon juice, things like that. So going back to what our grandmothers did in cleaning, you can both save money and have a lower toxic cleaning regime. Mm-hmm. Chemicals are used in pretty much everything we do these days. In a child care facility, art supplies, the smelly markers that smell like orange and blueberry and what have you that I loved and played with as a child, turns out can be an asthma trigger and does interfere with lung development.
These are the watercolors that we use. The paint is plant-based or plant-derived. It's not completely derived from plants. There are other brands where the paints are completely from plants. Mm-hmm. This has other elements to it, but it is completely natural. Like the crayons we use are non-toxic, just like any of the crayons you'd get in a grocery store are non-toxic, but the difference is it's made with real beeswax rather than a petroleum-based product. You just actually smell the beeswax as you're coloring with them, and it's just something really subtle. We may associate doing art more with the scented markers you mentioned earlier, the sense of our childhood, but they say that smell is the closest link to memory, and when children are doing this, they are setting those patterns, natural smells, as things that smell beautiful and right to them. And then they'll recreate those in their patterning when they're buying art supplies for their children.
Well, I think Angela's done a really fantastic job. On our checklist, our best practices covers everything from non-toxic cleaners to air quality issues, inside and outside the facility, playground equipment we make recommendations on. Unfortunately, a lot of wood is treated with something called CCA, which is meant to prevent the wood from rotting or from pests from getting in it. But this product or this chemical actually leaches out of the wood, and it leaches arsenic. So when kids are playing with it, they are playing on equipment that is leaching a chemical, which they then get on their hands, and then if they go and eat, they'll ingest the arsenic, which of course is bad for them in a lot of ways. Fortunately, there are a lot of great alternatives that don't cost more and are just as good for building play structures. In particular, cedar. It's a wood that naturally is rot and pest resistant.
It was made for children, so of course it's safe enough. It should be fine. And then around the time we were doing the OEC standards, looking down the checklist, I realized that we had an opportunity to seal it with non-toxic sealant. My husband added this element up here for the treehouse and the sandbox, and as it grows and we add wood to it, we just purchased a non-toxic sealant, and so now the whole thing has been sealed with that instead.
If people have a pest control problem, they'll frequently defer to a toxic pest control.
There's really no need for pesticides in the garden. What we do is plant companion planting. We have some slug catchers here. They love to eat the slugs. If we catch the slugs, we'll often go over to the coop and feed it to them. And they'll eat the worms too, but their contribution to the garden is so great that we'll let them get a couple worms if they want to. Their manure is the best stuff you can get. Just makes really rich compost. And they eat our weeds too. We pick the weeds and feed it to them. We have the bunny manure and the chicken manure that we use. It makes a compost tea. And then we have the leftovers from our organic snacks. Right back there in the corner is our compost bin, and we get compost out of that. It tends to make plants that are so healthy that they're more disease resistant to begin with. Nice. And if you get sort of out of the cycle of using, Roundup and the things to just spray to keep away the pests and just have really, really healthy, rich soil, then you're growing plants generally that you're not going to need those for anyway. Mm-hmm.
So Angela, thank you so much for having us here at the Rowan Berry School.
It was great to have you guys. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. And there's so much to learn.
And thanks for coming.
Mm-hmm. And I'm April Westfall here with Brain Stew Productions, bringing you the tools to be more sustainable today.
வணக்கம். பச்சிளம் குழந்தை பராமரிப்பு குறித்த ஸ்போக்கன் டியூட்டோரியலுக்கு நல்வரவு. இந்த டியூட்டோரியலில் நாம் கற்க போவது ஒரு பச்சிளம் குழந்தையை எவ்வாறு பராமரிப்பது, ஒரு புதிய தாய் சந்திக்கும் பொதுவான பிரச்சனைகள், அந்த பிரச்சனைகளை எவ்வாறு சமாளிப்பது. டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி அனிதாவின் வீட்டிற்கு வந்து புதிதாய் பிறந்த குழந்தைக்காக தன் மகிழ்ச்சியை வெளிப்படுத்துகிறார். அனிதா தன் குழந்தையை தவறான வழியில் பிடித்திருப்பதை டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி கவனிக்கிறார். குழந்தையை தூக்கும்போது கவனமாக இருக்கும்படி அவர் அனிதாவிடம் சொல்கிறார். குழந்தையின் தலையை எவ்வாறு தாங்குவது என்பதையும், குழந்தையை தொட்டிலில் இருந்து எவ்வாறு தூக்குவது அல்லது போடுவது என்பதையும் டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி செய்து காட்டுகிறார். குழந்தையை மென்மையாக கையாளுமாறு டாக்டர் அனிதாவிற்கு அறிவுரை கூறுகிறார். அனிதா டாக்டரிடம் இவை அனைத்தும் தனக்கு புதியது என்று கூறுகிறார். மேலும் குழந்தையை நன்கு பராமரிக்க அவரிடம் அறிவுரை கேட்கிறார். டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி சந்தோஷமாக ஏற்கிறார். முதலாவதும் முக்கியமானதுமாக அவர் சுட்டிக்காட்டுவது, பச்சிளம் குழந்தையை கையாளும் முன் சோப்பு அல்லது கரிசாம்பல் கொண்டு உங்கள் கைகளை கழுவுங்கள். பச்சிளம் குழந்தைகளுக்கு வலிமையான நோய் எதிர்ப்பு சக்தி இருக்காது. எனவே எளிதில் நோய் தொற்று ஏற்படும். அனிதா குழந்தைக்கு எப்போதெல்லாம் பாலூட்டுவது என டாக்டரிடம் கேட்கிறார். பச்சிளம் குழந்தைக்கு 2 லிருந்து 3 மணி நேரத்திற்கு ஒருமுறை பாலூட்ட வேண்டும் என டாக்டர் கூறுகிறார். குழந்தையின் உடல் நலத்திற்கும் நோய் எதிர்ப்பு சக்தியின் வளர்ச்சிக்கும் தாய்ப்பால் மிக முக்கியமானது என அவர் விளக்குகிறார். மேலும் தாய்ப்பால் கொடுக்கும்போது ஒவ்வொரு மார்பகத்திலும் 10 லிருந்து 15 நிமிடங்கள் கொடுக்க வேண்டும். பின் அனிதா குழந்தைக்கு மாற்றுணவு பற்றி கேட்கிறார். பால் பொருட்கள் போன்ற மாற்றுணவை கொடுக்கிறீர்கள் எனில் ஒவ்வொரு முறையும் கிட்டத்தட்ட 60 இருந்து 90 கிராம் வரை எடுக்கலாம் என டாக்டர் கூறுகிறார். எப்போது எப்படி குழந்தையை குளிப்பாட்டுவது என டாக்டரிடம் அனிதா கேட்கிறார். முதல் சில வாரங்களுக்கு குழந்தை மிக மென்மையாக இருக்கும் என டாக்டர் விளக்குகிறார். குழந்தையை பஞ்சால் தொட்டு துடைக்க வேண்டும் என அவர் கூறுகிறார். தொப்புள் கொடி உதிர்ந்து முனைத்தோல் குணமாகி வரை தொப்புள் பூரண ஆரம்ப காலத்திற்கு பின் வாரத்திற்கு 2-3 முறை வீரியம் குறைந்த லேசான சோப்பினால் குளிப்பாட்டலாம் என டாக்டர் விளக்குகிறார். முதல் வயது வரை இதை தொடரலாம். அடிக்கடி குளிப்பாட்டினால் சருமம் வறண்டு விடலாம். டாக்டர் அஞ்சலி குழந்தையின் உடலில் சில தடிப்புகள் இருப்பதை காட்டினார். அனிதா பயந்து விட்டார். அவர் இம்மாதிரியான தடிப்புகளை எவ்வாறு நீக்குவது என டாக்டரை கேட்கிறார். ஈரமான டைப்பரால் தடிப்புகள் வருவதாக டாக்டர் விளக்குகிறார். மேலும் குழந்தையின் துணி டைப்பரை அடிக்கடி மாற்ற வேண்டும் என்றும், மலம் கழித்த பின் கூடுமான வரை சீக்கிரம் மாற்ற வேண்டும் என்றும் கூறுகிறார். லேசான சோப்பினால் அந்த பகுதியை சுத்தம் செய்த பின் துடைக்கவும். பின் ஈரப்பதத்தை குறைக்க சிறிது பேபி பவுடரை பூசவும். துணி டைப்பரை பயன்படுத்துகிறீர்கள் எனில் அவற்றை சுடுநீரில் துவைத்து டெட்டால் போன்ற கிருமி நாசினியை பயன்படுத்த வேண்டும் என டாக்டர் விளக்குகிறார். ஒரு நாளைக்கு கொஞ்ச நேரம் டைப்பரை போடாமல் விடுவதும் ஒரு நல்ல யோசனைதான். அனிதா டாக்டர் அஞ்சலியின் அறிவுரைகளுக்கு நன்றி கூறி அவற்றை மனதில் வைத்துக் கொள்வதாக கூறினார். இத்துடன் இந்த டியூட்டோரியல் முடிகிறது. பின்வரும் இணைப்பில் உள்ள காணொளியை காணவும். இது ஸ்போக்கன் டியூட்டோரியல் திட்டத்தை சுருங்க சொல்கிறது. உங்கள் இணைய இணைப்பு வேகமாக இல்லை எனில் தரவிறக்கி காணவும். ஸ்போக்கன் டியூட்டோரியல் திட்டக்குழு ஸ்போக்கன் டியூட்டோரியல்களை பயன்படுத்தி செய்முறை வகுப்புகள் நடத்துகிறது. இணையத்தில் பரீட்சை எழுதி தேர்வோருக்கு சான்றிதழ்களும் அளிக்கிறது. மேலும் தகவல்களுக்கு contact@spoken-tutorial.org க்கு மின்னஞ்சல் எழுதவும். ஸ்போக்கன் டியூட்டோரியல் பாடங்கள் டாக் டு எ டீச்சர் திட்டத்தின் முனைப்பாகும். இதற்கு ஆதரவு இந்திய அரசு துவக்கிய MHRD இன் ஐசிடி மூலம் தேசிய கல்வித்திட்டத்தின் வழியே கிடைக்கிறது. இந்த திட்டம் பற்றிய மேலதிக தகவல்கள் இந்த இணைப்பில் கிடைக்கும். http:/spoken-tutorial.org/nmeictintro www.nmeict-intro. இந்த tutorialக்கு ஸ்கிரிப்ட் Avnish Kumar. Drawings Saurabh Gadgil. தமிழாக்கம் செய்து குரல் கொடுத்தது ஐஐடி பாம்பேவில் இருந்து பிரியா. நன்றி.
We chat with your love, with hearts of loving kindness, care for people in our paths. Where sorrow hurts and where trouble hits, together in love and kindness, we lighten up our load. A meaningful life calls for you and I to make a change. A beautiful world calls, sharing joy with love and care. You and your inspiring words always stay within our hearts. That we change our world to a better place for us. Our lives together fate leads us to share learning with others in this very special place. Where kindness starts is where our love begins. Together in love and kindness, we lighten up our load.
Over the years, we have an extended part of our building which has a farm. It's on about 4,000 square metres is the farm itself. Then we have additional housing for other animals within the service itself. The children go up to the farm on a daily basis, and in there we have at the moment 16 chickens, 3 ducks. We've had pigs and lambs and goats. Down in the bottom half, we have doves, turtle and our guinea pigs. We had a lot of risk assessments to do. We had to talk to our regulatory bodies, we had to talk to the local council, we had to join with community groups to make sure that we were educated enough to have the farm at a hygiene level and a standard that was acceptable to put our children into that area. For the children themselves, it is the whole responsibility of caring for something else other than themselves. So they get to care for an animal, they watch it grow from a baby right through to adult. They get to see the process, have to water them, feed them, they learn to respect them, how to handle the animals. It's just great. When we had the pigs, they were great little, but once they got bigger, they kept digging up all our dirt. So we had to, a parent educated us, our farmer, that we needed to put nose rings to stop them from digging up all the dirt or digging into the children. So there's always funny little stories. Often the children are quite scared at first and they'll like, oh my God, and the chickens will come and jump on them, or they'll fly around them, and they pick up when the children are nervous. So they'll tap at their feet, but that's why we always have a safety net area and a fenced area that we call our transition area into the farm, that if the children are feeling scared, they can just put some food in their hand and they can just have them come to the fence, and there's a barrier between them until they feel confident. I'm a parent of 4, which helps a lot of our parents feel comfortable when they come to the service. We do encourage a lot of pre-visits and preparation for your child coming to care through communication, through photos. We encourage you to bring photos of your family members to our service as well, so the children have that to hold on to and we can talk about them, and this helps them settle. If they're young babies, it's about coming and visiting. We are strangers to children when they first come to the service, and they need to get to know us, and that helps them settle in. If you come beforehand, and don't make it a rush decision that I need it to happen tomorrow, give a week or 2 beforehand and then have regular visits so that their bond with the carers is developing at all times. For you as a mum, it's nerve-wracking, and I've had many parents cry on my doorstep, and I've given them coffee, we've ring them 100 times, but we want you to feel part of our home, and this is a home here and a care just like at your home, and that you feel part of us.